Welcome back. Now, are you tired? Let's drink some tea. Yeah, we're going to talk about tea culture. Tea culture. You see this picture? This is a typical picture of the tea plantation in Taiwan. And the beautiful lady on the right hand side, she's doing a tea culture tour with me. So tea culture. Let me briefly introduce about the history of tea in Taiwan. Taiwan most of the time is hot and humid. And Taiwan, there are also a lot of like mountains or plateaus, like high hills, which is perfect to grow the tea. So back in the days, tea was our main export, our main economy. We used to export Formosa oolong tea to like all over the world. So tea, sugar cane, which is sugar, and rice were our main economy. But among this, tea was the most important. That is what made 大稻埕 a rich place, like 100 years ago. So we know that tea is important, but nowadays it's not competitive anymore because of the high cost of the labor, and also we are not able to compete with China or Sri Lanka. So tea is not our main economy anymore. However, we still keep tea culture. So now the question is, how do we get people to appreciate this? How do we get people to spend their money or to learn something or to come and see these tea plantations? That is the thing that we need to figure out. So let's do the tea culture tour online.
The Taipei Gong Gondola ride is part of the Taipei metro system and is located at the last stop on the Ground Line very near Taipei Zoo. What is great about this trip is you take a gondola, you rise up 300 meters and travel across 4 kilometers of the beautiful Taiwanese subtropical jungle. And at the very top you come across kilometers upon kilometers of tea lands where they grow the oolong tea that is exported all around the world. The idea up there is you find one of the many little tea houses dotted around, order your favorite brand of tea, and if you're not sure which brand of tea you like, talk to the local tea house guide and he will choose the perfect tea for you. You sit down, enjoy tea, and look out at the amazing view of Taipei City. The best time is in the late afternoon, getting on for sunset, or the early evening when the lights come up in Taipei. Another option for taking up the gondola is choosing the right line and taking the one with the crystal glass bottom. Now that's only if you're a little bit adventurous in your spirit, because it is just a tiny bit disconcerting to look down at the ground a couple of 100 meters below you with nothing blocking your view. The Taipei Gong Gondola, an experience that's essential to your trip to Taipei. This building high up in the height of tea lands in Muja is called the Tea Promotion Building, and in here you can learn about the entire process from the last pick of the plant to the first sip of the cup of tea. So come inside and we'll have a little look at a part of the tea making process. So the tea process begins with the picking of tea leaves, and that's done 4 times a year on each season: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And tea leaves are best picked on a hot, sunny day at the hottest part of the day, usually around that midday. So once the tea leaves are picked from the trees, they're then put outside on the ground, on dry ground, and left to dry in the sun. And once they've dried in the sun for a while, then they're taken and given to be placed on these bamboo trays here, where they are dried indoors for another period of time. The next step of the tea making process is it's put into this machine here, which shakes up the leaves and again keeps to heat them. The idea of heating in this stage of it is to get rid of the vegetable type smell that's inside the leaves. In the old days, they would shake the leaves up by hand and then put them inside a bamboo box, which was then heated using hot coals underneath it. The next step is putting the leaves inside this tea panning machine, which the idea here is to stop the fermentation process of the tea. So in your 3 types of tea, your green tea, oolong tea, and the black tea, the fermentation process needs to be stopped. For green tea, it's at 0%. For the oolong tea, they stop the process at 30%, and with black tea, they wait till it's 100% of the fermentation process. So the next step after the fermentation process is complete is to put the dried leaves into this rolling machine. And by rolling around in this, they squeeze out the remaining water content that's inside the leaves. This also helps bring about the distinctive style of aroma and taste to each tea leaf. This is Sherding, an old coal mining village. In the mid-40s, and when the Japanese occupied Taiwan, it was a small mining town with a population of almost 2,000 people. But the American forces bombed the local coal-burning electricity plant, so they had to stop the coal mines here because there was just simply nowhere to actually use the coal anymore. When Chiang Kai-shek and his KMT forces arrived in Taiwan, the coal mining town was reopened again in 1949. And throughout the 50s, it was producing about 1.5 million tons of coal a year. The golden age of the coal mining town was in the mid-60s, 64 to 68, and was producing about 5 million tons of coal a year, and enough coal to meet the local needs and enough to be able to export to Hong Kong and to Shanghai. At that time, there were around 13,000 coal miners living in the village. But by the time the 80s rolled around, they had to start to close down the mines for basically 3 reasons. One, it was just becoming too dangerous. There'd been a few coal mining accidents and lots of people had lost their lives. International oil prices and gas prices had become cheap enough where it was a better idea for the government to actually import their own gas and oil to keep the electrical stations working. And also by that time, the coal mines themselves had basically almost run out of coal. They'd dug down deep into the earth as far as they could go, and it was just simply too expensive now to bring the coal out for the money they were able to make from it. This temple was completed in 1838 and became the central hub here in Sherding. Now at that time, Sherding wasn't a coal mining town, it was actually a tea production town. Up in the mountains there, they would grow and harvest the tea and then walk it down to this area here where it was dried and processed and then packaged. and then put onto flat-bottomed bamboo rafts and sailed down the river, where it eventually met up with the Dam Shui River, and there it could be sent out to export to the various countries around the world. We're standing in what is a typical house during the Qing Dynasty period, when tea was harvested up in the mountains and then prepared and dried and packaged. The special feature of this house is it's kind of built into the already existing mountain here. Behind you can just see it's like a pure rock face, and they've used that as a back wall. It's kind of a little bit damp in here because you've got a mountain out that side, you've got a mountain behind us. So this particular part of the Sheding Old Street never actually sees any sun. And another little interesting thing just in the back here, because this area was a target for the American bombing during World War II, they've actually carved into the rock face a little bomb shelter where they could go and hide during the air raids by the American forces here.
Okay, so this is a typical tea culture tour from our Okay, so this is a typical tea culture tour. In our company, you take the gondola in the morning, you go to Malcolm, you learn some knowledge of tea, you sit down in a tea house, enjoy the tea. In the afternoon, you go to Shiding and go to another tea house to learn how to make tea. After the all day trip, you will get to know tea a lot better. So I will start with Malcolm. Remember in the video he mentioned about Malcolm? So I'm going to show you some pictures. Start from the restaurants. So there are many tea houses in Malcolm. Once you arrive in Malcolm area, by the gondola, you can see a sign. You can see on the bottom left, there's a sign. All this shows you which tea houses there are. A lot, right? Yeah, a lot of tea houses. So you can pick one, sit down, relax, have a chat with your friend, order either food or just tea, and enjoy the view. It can be daytime or nighttime. In nighttime, there's a beautiful night view, which is also very romantic. Yeah, so that's Malcolm. That's what we do. And you can also have some tea-infused cuisine in there. On the right-hand side, that is Malcolm Gondola. Very beautiful. And you can just take MRT to Taipei Zoo Station, and then you can take this gondola. You see on the right hand side, these two girls, they are taking selfie. You see, what do they step on? It's like a glass, right? So that is the crystal cabin. If you ever want to do it, you can, if you're not really like afraid of height, you can choose this. This is like a crystal cabin, and then you can see through from the bottom. It's a little bit scary, but not too scary. A lot of fun. Same price with the regular cabin. It's just like if you go there on weekends, there is a longer queue if you want to do that. But if the queue is not too long, choose this crystal cabin. Alright, so here you can see 4 masks, 4 little cute things. So these are the characteristics or specialties in Malcolm, including the bamboo, from the right to left, the bamboo, the tea, and the apricot. The apricot blossom is also special, and a pothole. So these are like a lucky symbols or what is special about Malcolm. So we try to make it a cute version. And this you can also find it on a gondola. And so this is like a perfect example to combine the local characteristics to tourism. And super cute. It's like they will take you to explore this whole area. Oh, another thing I'm going to mention is that Mount Gondola is very close to Taipei Zoo. So when you go there, you can also see many like zoo themed things like zebra or giraffe or whatever, you know. They just kind of like combine these elements all together. Malcolm, a very good, nice place for dating in the evening as well. Okay, so Malcolm was in Taipei, like not far, like 20 to 30 minutes from Taipei city center. That is oolong tea. In Taiwan, we also drink green tea and black tea, but in different places, if you can find different teas. In central Taiwan, there's a place called Salmon Lake. Salmon Lake is famous for black tea. So this is another, I'm going to show you that how we put this business into tourism. Let's start from the left. The first building you see is a very old tea factory that is over 100 years old, built by Japanese. It was abandoned for many years. And then some youngsters, they went there and renovate the whole area, but still keep the old building, but try to make it a nice place for people to go. So nowadays, if you go there, it's on the way to Salmon Lake. You can see the machine and also to learn how the tea was made. Like the window, the machine, the rolling machine, or the shelf where the tea put for fermentation. So you learn all the tea process. You can enjoy the tea, the free tea. You can buy the tea. You can walk around in there, and you can actually see the tea plantation in there. Of the I mean the tea. Here I mean the black tea. So in 日月老茶厂. On the right hand side, this is another tea factory. It's also beautiful that you can learn how the tea was made, and you can also drink free tea, even to get the tea eggs. And walk around, you can see there's like a walkway that's transparent. So you can see it from the second floor to see all the machine and everything, which is also nice. It can be educational if you are taking your kids there. It's educational. And on the right hand side, there's an old man pointed, right? That is also cute. So people like to take photo with him, post it on Facebook or IG, and it makes this place an even nicer place. So Salmon Lake has done a really good job promoting black tea. Apart from that, apart from the tea factory, if you go to Salmon Lake, you definitely go to the old street in Yidashao. In Yidashao, you can find black tea everything. Black tea ice cream cone, black tea tofu. On the bottom left, that is a Taiwanese burger. So the tofu has got the tea flavor, and stuffed with the cilantro, some peanut, shaved peanut brittle, and pork. Yummy. So on the right, you can have the black tea egg roll, or just to drink black tea or bubble tea. You can buy the black tea biscuit, everything. Black tea, black tea, black tea. You can also buy the tea from there, if you want, on the old street. So old street is super popular, especially on weekends. It's like this, very crowded. Alright, so we talk. I just gave you two examples. One is in northern Taiwan, which is called Maoko. One is in central Taiwan, which is called Summer Lake. They have different types of tea, and then they are like models for promoting the tea culture. So now I'm going to talk about high mountain tea. This picture was taken in Alishan, which is more like the southern part of Taiwan. It's high mountain tea. So the mountain tea, if it's over 1,000 meters altitude, is considered high mountain tea. That is what Taiwan we are specializing. From the picture on the right, I took this picture from the book, and it showcases you where about this tea are from. For example, if you like to drink Dongdi, you go to central Taiwan. If you wanna have Oriental Beauty or Wenshan Baozhong, you go to Pinling. So for different place, it has a different tea. Let me ask you a question. What's the difference between black tea and green tea? Not just the color. The answer, fermentation. If it's 0% fermented, it is green tea. If it's 100% fermented, it's black tea. In between is oolong tea. So it can be 15%, it can be 30%. So that is considered oolong tea. So Taiwan, we have all of them, but we are more specialized in oolong tea. And what are the factors that affect the quality of tea? Fermentation and roasting. It can be heavily roasted, it can be lightly roasted, and the roasting will change the flavors of the tea. So high mountain tea, most of the time, is more like lightly fermented. How can you tell it's light? The color. If you see the light color, it's lightly fermented, like green tea or oolong tea. But if you see the color is more like dark, it's like more like fermented. So high mountain tea is very, very light. Maybe you are not into it at the first place, but after you drink a lot of tea, you're like, oh, this is like, you drink the flavor of the cloud or the mountain. And also, if the tea grows and in a high mountain is slower, it grows slower. So normally the price is a bit higher, but trust me, the quality is great. High mountain tea. Try it.